All right, so we are live. I'm here with Sean. Sean, how are you doing?
How you doing? Hello, David. How are you?
I'm doing wonderful.
Um,
I'm very happy to meet you and talk to you and hear your beautiful lyrical accent from Ireland,
hey,
the
yeah.
the land of Ire.
Mm.
Is that right?
The land of saints and scholars. At least it once was.
Yeah. So, which
Not
are you? Are
anymore.
you a saint or a scholar or both or neither or what?
I'm neither. Probably. I'm working on it.
Working on it. Work in progress, eh?
Yeah.
So listen,
Yeah.
I always ask my guests to go back to the beginning, talk about your childhood. How were you raised? Were you raised in the church? When did you first realize
Okay.
there's a God and that there's one true God and he deserves all of your love and your worship? And were there any heroes of the faith in your family? Like was grandma really devout, praying all the time with her beads and her incense? Talk about some of the early
Okay.
impressions, even before you had the use of reason. And then, of course, your first communion, first confession, these sorts of things. Any highlights on the route? And if you strayed from the faith, did you become an atheist? Did you play around with any kind of strange worldviews in your adolescence? Or did you get into sex, drugs, and rock and roll? That's always interesting. And then did you come back, or were you always a good boy all the way through? Talk us through it.
Okay. Well, currently, all right, I'll talk to you through it. From at the beginning, I was always into my faith. Whenever I was very, very young,
Nice.
had a deep faith. I served on the altar. I had a really good priest. I served under a really good priest on the altar and that. Um, and it was in the Glens of Antrim in a very beautiful place called Glenarth, and one of the 9 glens of Antrim. It's considered the most beautiful. There's plenty of waterfalls and forests and that there. And everything was idyllic whenever I was really young. And then I got up a bit in my years. We used to say that we did say the rosary every night. My father had us say the rosary every night around the suite of furniture, would be on our knees, and we'd say that rosary as a family. Uh, and my father's side would have been all very tough men. They've been, or the men were tough, and the women, well, they were tough too, they, but they're very pious men. And they took no nonsense, and they didn't. They were like they'd have been the type of men who didn't tolerate liars, or they said what they meant what they said, and they said what they meant, sort of thing. And I'd just like to think that they're a very well thought of family in the parish, people, trusted and liked. But whenever I got older into my teenage years, I started going out and drinking and taking drugs. And
Uh,
then I went to, as I got older again, I went to um, Chicago. I lived there for uh, 3.5 years, 4 years, whatever. And uh, I worked hard, played hard too, went and drank, and it's really. Uh, but then, like an incident happened there. I went out there with my then girlfriend, who's now my wife. We went out there
uh,
together, and we were living together in sin. Uh, so we went out there, and things happened, and we split up for a while. And I went to. I always had a love for the church. I always used to go to the church as a child, even just to go in by myself and pray in there. That's like whenever I was young. Um, so I was kind of like out on the street for a very brief period of time. We'd split up, and and I went to the church as chapel in there, and I wanted to have my confession heard, and I hadn't had my confession heard in years. And I just knocked on the door, and this woman receptionist came out, and I said I wanted to speak to the priest, and he was busy, and I said it's important, and eventually I got to speak to him. And then I kind of went and stayed for a wee while in this uh, like monastery place. Um, and these just what I still work on that, but I wasn't I wasn't in the apartment I was staying in anymore. And they let me stay in this cell for a while, and I just it was just peace and quiet there, and I started coming back to my faith then. Uh, I was still drinking in that, but too, I got me and my girlfriend, that is now my wife, got back together, and we're still drinking, still going out. But I still trying to go to mass back and forward, going to mass. And I always believed in God, even whenever I'm off the rails. I never like doubted my Catholic faith. I just was kind of running away from it. If that makes sense. I knew it was the true faith. I knew it was the one true faith. I always made Catholicism always made the most sense to me. Out of all the Christian religions and out of all the religions in the world, it was the one that seemed to be founded in reason as well, not just just seemed to just made it was logical to me. So then we come back home to Ireland, and I have a hereditary conditions I had. I had to go into the hospital. I was really, really bad and thought I was going to die. So this condition, and I had to get a liver transplant. Not enough, I got a liver transplant, and it was really, whenever it comes to liver transplant, there's only so many livers, and they have to decide whether you're a suitable candidate or not, for it. If there's a chance that you might not survive, then they're not going to waste a liver on you, they're going to give it to somebody's. But because of my age, I was very young, and it's kind of like what they call the panel split, but they allowed me to get the liver transplant, and I got the liver transplant on December 8th, 2004, and December 8th is the feast of the Immaculate Conception. And I've always had I've always had a special devotion to Our Lady, and that didn't pass me by. I seen that as something very special. But even though we're home and I'm still trying to get mass more and I was praying more and that, I still going out drinking, at the weekend, still drinking and getting into trouble and that sometimes. And then I don't know, I just kind of gradually pulled away from it, and I started reciting the Rosary daily. And I still recite the Rosary daily, but you change, but it's like it seems very slowly, but it's actually quite quickly. When it's like you change, but you don't notice it in yourself. I think it's all happening underneath. And it's not like once you stop and take a step back and look at where you were before, then you think, oh, look how far I've come now. It's not. So you don't even notice it happening. I think it's the God working in you, So me and my wife couldn't conceive because of things, my health and that, and we ended up adopting 3 children. That was a good while ago now, 8 years ago, and they're all into their sports, and now I try and participate in the boys doing sports, and that I help. Hurling. I don't know if you ever heard tell of the game hurling or not. It's an Irish sport here. It's very fast, furious, most skillful sport in the world, I'd say. And it's like over 3,000 years old. So, and it's a hard sport, but that's very good. I find it. I suggest anybody who hears this should check it out. Go look it up on YouTube. Hurling, the Irish sport of hurling. So, what else have I got to say? That's kind of. Then I got more into my faith, and I started a website. I'm part of the Irish Men's Rosary group here in Ireland that's going around. And I started the website Catholicism Rocks, and that's kind of like for what I would say call conservative Catholics. Now, that's not what I mean by conservative Catholic. Anybody's taking their faith seriously. Any Catholic who believes, because I don't. It's confusing times we're in. It's very, very confusing times, and I'm not an authority on anything. And people's questions about the current Pope, about the way the Church is at the minute. And I think as long as you stick to the dogmatic teachings and doctrines of the faith, and just kind of keep on that path, and just stick to the Church teachings, there's nothing can be changed. It's like dogmatic teachings cannot be changed, and it doesn't matter if it's coming from the Pope or bishops or whatever. They cannot be changed, and you're entitled to. That's what you have to stick to. It's like nobody can override them teachings. Something can't be considered dogmatic teaching one day and then not the next. So But I find it very confusing, and I can understand. Like, I don't condemn anybody from the SSPX or FSSP or Novus Ordo or whatever mass you attend. You know, as long as you're trying to be reverent, and they're obviously, these differences do matter, but it's not. I just don't fully understand them. I have to kind of find my way through this as well. But I don't have the answers. But I'm trying to. There's definitely people out there who might go lean one way and others might go another way. But they're, maybe if they're being sincere, God's going to take us in the right direction if we really are following with the right intentions and that, and not trying to make our will be done, you know, sort of thing, you know.
Yeah. Before we get too deep into the church politics, I do want to talk about that. I want to talk about your siblings. How many do you have, and what's the situation with their faith, and with your parents' faith if they're still alive?
Okay, my parents are still faithful Catholics. My siblings, I'd say there's like, well, one of them. There was 6 of us, 4 boys and 2 girls. I was the youngest boy. There's the 4 boys, then the 2 girls came later. I was the youngest boy. One of my brothers passed away from the same hereditary condition when I was 30. He was older than me. I would say maybe a couple of them, they still go to mass and that, and a couple of them would maybe still be kind of take their faith seriously. And then the other 2 would be practicing to a certain extent. I think you should be striving for sainthood. You know, we should always be trying to keep going and going, but sometimes people's happy with mediocrity, you know, sort of thing, you know. So
do they know you're on fire?
Say,
do they know you're on fire for Christ and his church?
Yeah, they know. Like, they would probably think I'm over the top a bit, you know, but.
Have your parents given you positive feedback, or they just let you do your thing, or what?
No, I think they kind of like what I do, and they're happy that I'm doing this. You know, do what I do for faith. And
are you in a Protestant county, or is your county Antrim? Is it Antrim or whatever it is? Is that up by Belfast and all that?
Yeah, it's predominantly Protestant, but the parish I grew up in is nearly all Catholic. So there's different parishes. It's like segregated by parishes and things. So the parish I grew up in would have been all Catholic, and so Ireland would be the south of Ireland. There's 26 counties, and then in the north there's 6 counties that still remains part of Britain. But if you go up into the very north coast, where I'm from, like Antrim, the Glens there, Ballycastle, Lochgield, and they still it's still very like Irish traditions, and it kind of like held on. That's the way up in the northeast. So northeast of Ireland is Protestant, but on the very, very top bit, it seems like that bit still seems to have a lot of this culture and all from, like, you'd see in 26 counties, you know, down below. So they would still have the same sports and the same sort of.
Because it's on the fringes and it's maybe a little bit more rural. Is it more rural and provincial up there?
Yeah, a bit more rural. Yeah.
Less sophisticated with the big cities and all that. Less of that.
Yeah. It's more. Whenever I was growing up, it's like an employment black spot. Like, you know, people didn't have kind of work and that. And then there was a lot of sectarianism. You know, maybe not so much whenever I was growing up, but before that, people that, you know, weren't getting jobs because of their faith, because of their being Catholic and that, and there's troubles and all. But we were kind of insulated from all that. We were way up in the northeast, so we weren't like in Belfast. We didn't really see too much. I seen like a couple of explosions, but that was it. For the most part, I was away from all that sort of stuff.
I'm of Irish and Scottish Ancestry. Are there a lot of Scots? Like, are you close with the Scots at all, or is that a thing of the ancient past for you guys? Or do you still have family and kin over there? Do you consider each other brothers, or are you arch enemies, or what's the
Well,
situation?
Scotland and Irish, the Scottish and Irish are originally the same people. We're the
They're
same
Irish.
actual race. Huh?
They came
Yeah.
from Ireland, didn't they?
So yeah, it's got that. Whenever the Romans came over to Britain, okay, the north bit, they built Hadrian's Wall, which kind of takes off the north of Britain. That was to kind of keep the Scots out
Okay.
from there, and they called that Scots land because that's what they called the Irish Scots.
Ah, I
That's
see.
what the name for all of it. And then because there's so many of the Irish up there, they called that Scots land like as well, even though they called all of the island of Irish, all Irish people Scots then. And then that's how it got Scots land. So there are people traveling back and forth. But my name is Murray, and that's kind of like Scottish origin, but it's also people in Mayo have it too. It's also so.
Have you heard of the Ross clan? ROSS?
The Ross clan.
Yeah, that's my
Yeah,
family.
I've heard tell the name Ross. I know the name Ross, but I haven't.
You haven't met them?
I haven't heard that. No,
Not a lot of them in
I do know of
Ireland?
them.
You don't know any in
There
Ireland
would be
that are
some.
Rosses? Yeah.
Yeah, there've been people called Ross in Ireland. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Sometimes like even parishes, there'd be people with certain surnames, just to that parish.
I see.
Like if you go to Cushendall, which is just 2 miles away from where I live, there's a lot of McNaughtons there. I come from Glenora, and there's a lot of like McDonald's in it. So that's how there's only 2 miles of difference between them 2 parishes.
Is there any difference between a Mick that's MC or a Mick that's MAC? Is there any difference in terms of origin, Mac or Mick?
I don't know.
Not that you know
I
of?
don't know.
Okay.
No.
I've been to Scotland.
Yeah,
I lived in Edinburgh actually with my wife for a few months, and it was a strange, very strange place. Very, very strange place. A lot of sort of preternatural sort of demon vibes, like witchcraft. I met a lot of witches there. It's dark. It's got dark. It's got dark vibes, but it's an interesting place. I was an atheist when I was there.
It's a nice city, and they have like the underground.
Yeah.
They take in these ghost tours and things.
Yeah. We applied for jobs as jumpers, where you jump out and scare people, but we didn't get the job. We didn't get the job. We're not scary enough. Beautiful country though. The whole of Great Britain is beautiful. The green, and the rain is nice there. You like the rain?
Yeah. Sometimes I like the sun probably more so but you need the rain. You need the rain too for the greenness and that. But I like the sun.
What I found in England, because we lived in England too. We lived in Leicester and London, and we traveled around quite a bit. But the rain, I found that the rain was more frequent, but it was less annoying. Here in Canada, it's sort of it seems to be we don't get a nice misty rain like you seem to get over there. You can have like a misty rainy day where it's changeable weather. Here it just kind of drenches you all day and it's a crappy day. But over there you could rain 3 times in the day and it's kind of interesting. It's different.
Yeah, it can be raining 1 minute and then next minute sun's out.
Yeah. It's very nice. The people in England I found very hard to get to know. They seem closed. I don't want to like stir up your prejudice against the English, but there was a bit of a cold-heartedness I found with them. Even though they're very polite and nice, it was hard to crack the nut and to get close to them. Whereas the Irish and the Scottish, I find, especially with the Irish, I find it easier to connect, brother to brother.
There's a big culture difference between. Although we would have, the same comedy shows, we'd watch the same. But Irish has their own comedy shows as well. So we get British comedy, but then we'd have our own thing that maybe doesn't travel too well. Sometimes our comedy, there's, I don't know if you ever heard Tell of Father Ted and things like that.
Heard of it? I haven't watched it.
Yeah, people. It's like people from other countries, like I don't think
they don't get it.
That's stupid. Yeah, but I don't know. Maybe we're just so immature still. Yeah.
Nice people though, and I don't know if you know Canada, but we have the whole East Coast, like the extreme East Coast, the Maritime provinces, and you'll get a
Mhm.
lot of that Irish lilt because there's so many Irish.
Yeah, and you can still hear it, and with Canadians sometimes, like, like an Irishly thing coming through, Um,
Have you
I've
traveled to
never been there. I've
Canada?
never been
No,
there.
no, you've never been.
Huh?
You've never been to
No,
Canada.
I've never been. No, I've never been to Canada. No, no. But I've seen, on television and movies now. There's parts of Canada, and they do have that. Like, you can hear it sometimes in the voice, like that Irish thing coming through. Sometimes, just a little bit.
Oh yeah, yeah. No, I
Um,
could send you. I'll send you videos after we're done here. Well, not right after because I got another interview coming up. But I'll send you
mm,
videos soon where you'll hear the Newfie accent from the Newfoundlanders,
yeah,
and sometimes it's
yeah,
really, really thick or tick, as they would say, tick.
yeah,
So it's
yeah.
great. So yeah, so when you were talking, we were talking before we went live, and we were talking about Pope Francis. He's the vicar of Christ
Mm,
according to the church, and this is my thing with
mm,
the rad trads and the so-called conservative
mm,
Catholics. It's my pet peeve
mm,
because I just consider myself a Catholic, and I do adhere to all the traditional teachings and the dogmas and the doctrines and these sorts of things. The
mm,
only difference between me and a rad trad is that I interpret everything Pope Francis says in continuity with tradition, whereas the rad trads will automatically give the worst possible interpretation of everything that he says because it sells more.
mm.
It sells more podcasts. It sells more merch.
But
It sells more.
I don't, I, I, I don't think that's altogether true either, because there's some things that you can say, like, oh, he didn't mean it like that, or people can defend him.
Yeah.
There's some things you can say, well, there's no other way you can interpret that. There's no other way that can be seen. Like people say, oh, and
Have you got
they're
an
saying, no,
example?
huh?
Have you got any
Yeah,
examples?
yeah. The Pachamama thing,
Oh,
to me, that was completely
do you know
sacrilegious.
anyone? Do you know anyone that worships Pachamama? I mean, give me a break. That's a joke. There's no one worshiping Pachamama in the Catholic Church. Nobody. Nobody.
No, no, but
Nobody.
no, to me, that was all to do with Mother Earth, like in climate change and pushing this kind of agenda. Well, if there's nobody worshipping Pachamama, what was the point of that big ceremony and bringing this thing into the grounds
I don't know, but
of the Vatican?
if they wanted to introduce Pachamama worship, it didn't work. It was a big flop.
No, 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 no. I don't think it was just like, it's like earth worship. It's not
Well,
like Pachamama as a person.
I
It's
know,
like,
but how many people do you
um,
know? How many people do you know that were said, "Hey, I'm going to give up Catholicism. I'm going to go back to some sort of pagan
no,
earth
no,
worship"?
no,
Nobody.
no, no. They're
Nobody's
not going
doing
to.
that. Nobody's doing that.
Listen, listen. Fulton, Archbishop Fulton Sheen says there's going to be a church. It's going to ape the church. In other words, they're not going to say. They're not going to just say we now believe this. This is what they're kind of going to. Things will
Sneak it
happen
in. Sneak it
incrementally.
in. Yeah.
Sneak it in, and it's going
Yeah.
to be like, have all the bells and incense and all the stuff, the whistles and that, and they're going to say, um, but take all this kind of, oh, what's the word, like, I'm looking for it. I don't know what I'm trying to say. It's like they're going to take it all. It's all going to be like empty of God, of Jesus, and that. It's all going to be like symbolic, and it's all going to be like, and it's going to be all about spirituality and all about earth and being at one with, so it's all going. What you see, that's the way they're trying, and that's ecumenicalism. And I'm not. You're saying there about Pope Francis. I think, and this is a big thing because everybody loves Pope John Paul II. And I think he's great. I think he's a good man too. But he made some very, very big mistakes. And no, that's how I see it. This is my personal opinion. By having that thing at Assisi, where he had the Buddhist on top of the tabernacle, that to me is complete heresy. He shouldn't have kissed the Quran either. That is, that is not. They are not worshiping the same God as us. That's they don't worship the same God as us. The Jews do not worship the same God as us. See all this, but they worship the Abrahamic God. We all worship the Abrahamic God. No, Jesus is part of the God. The triune God, three persons and one God, and they are not, they don't recognize that. So as far as I'm concerned, we're not worshiping the same God. And everybody's afraid of offending. You're not doing anybody any favors by going along with them and trying to appease them. If you really love somebody, say, no, you're wrong. You're wrong. That's bullshit. That's not right. You're wrong. If I really loved you, I would say, David, you're wrong. This is what I think, and this is what you should maybe think of too. Here's the reasons why I think this. We were talking about that earlier too. Like, you can explain yourself. Well, that's what, there's different things like. Now, I'm not a canon lawyer. I don't know that stuff, and I don't like to put doubts in people's heads. But a Freemason, you cannot be a Freemason and a Catholic. If you're a Freemason, you're automatically excommunicated. Okay.
Yep.
And I know that there's Freemasons masquerading as clergy.
Yeah, for sure.
Now, they are not really.
Yeah, they're wolves in sheep's clothing.
Priests. Yeah, they're not really priests. They're not really bishops because their office they're excommunicated. They're not Catholics at all.
Yeah,
that's automatic excommunication. And that goes for everybody in the church. Yeah, everybody. Yeah. So if somebody's a Freemason, they are not part of the church. Yeah. So I'm not like Fulton Sheen warned us about this. He said there will be a church that's going to ape the church, and he says we're going to have our own Judas, like just as Jesus had. There's Judas Iscariot, but it's going to come from within. Yeah. And that was they couldn't destroy the church from without, and now they're trying to destroy it from within. For sure. And they're making good headway, but they won't do it. It's not going to happen. Sure. The church will always survive, and there always will be the remnant. Yeah. And I believe we're in the time we could possibly be in the time of the remnant or thereabouts, or getting that. We're going that road, maybe. For sure.
Well, do you remember do you remember reading about the Arian heresy in the 4th century and how many bishops supported that? It's not the first time. It's not our first rodeo. It's not the first time where the church is suffering, and that's just a constant cycle in the church. The suffering, death, and resurrection of the church. The church and Christ are one.
There's nothing new under the sun, and all these things happen, but that's everybody says. But the Arian heresy, the whole church was always, fell into here. But this is worse. This is worse. I'm telling you that everybody's like, the church is and always buries. A church always does bury our enemies, but I want us to have. People says, well, we all know who wins in the end. Yeah, we all know who wins in the end. But I want as many souls on earth on going to heaven as possible. Yeah. No much point saying we all win in the end and then only 5 people are saved, and everybody else goes to hell. It's like, let's take let's make it a good victory. Let's make it, as successful as possible.
Yeah, I agree.
And you have to work at that. These things don't just happen. You just, what people like to say, David had to pick up even though David prayed, he had to pick up the stone eventually. He had to pick up. So.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. I agree 100%. And, the thing is, when you see people obviously contradicting the church's teachings, you have to wonder, are they stupid or are they evil and malicious? And, I don't want to judge the heart. I can't read the heart. But, you have to be either incredibly stupid or incredibly evil to call yourself a Catholic and contradict the established, traditional, dogmatic, infallible teachings of the church, right? So to me, it's very, very clear. I've avoided many priests here in Montreal when they told me things like they don't believe in the real presence in the Eucharist, or that it's just a symbol or whatever, or they believe in women's ordination, or they believe in reincarnation or whatever. I haven't heard all those things from priests, but I heard one priest tell me that he thought it was just a symbol, and I said, "What's the difference then with the Protestant non-Catholic Christians?" He said, "There's no difference." So I stopped going to that parish. I could tell you that. And the ones who are preaching LGBTQ and all that sort of thing, like, we have to love these people that are afflicted with this mental illness, but we can't encourage it. We can't condone it. And you can't tell them it's okay to act on it. We love the sinner. We hate the sin, but we have to be, like you said, we have to be honest with the sick person that they're sick. It's not to be celebrated with the parade, right?
Yeah. I don't know. I lost my
So for me,
train of
for
thought
me,
there.
well, for me, I think what the difference is between my attitude towards the Pope and the hierarchy in the Church and your attitude is, it's very easy for me to spot a wolf in sheep's clothing if the opportunity presents itself to, to talk about the actual teachings of the Church. Like if you're just chit chatting about the weather, it's hard to
No,
tell.
no.
But what you're
Hold
saying,
on.
is that they're going to use some sort of colorful language that mimics the Church, and then they're going to fool me into thinking that they're Catholic, right?
I'll tell you the worst type of priest you can get, and there's some of them out there. Is one that is very orthodox or appears to be very orthodox and traditional, but underneath is not. And there's ones out there, and people. I've seen so many people, celebrity. No, they have their own YouTube channels. They have their own thing. People's tuning into them. Good Catholics wanting to know their faith and learn not there. And maybe you have a bishop saying like, well, Jesus is the preferred way. Everything else is orthodox, and they agree with Gregorian chant and that, and they agree with all that stuff, and the traditional Latin Mass is beautiful, but with there's space for everybody and all that stuff. And then next thing they're trying to get rid of tradition. They're speaking with forked tongue, and well, we don't know where there's that they're far worse than a James. You know who James Martin is, yeah? Or James Martin. Yeah. Okay. Well, to me, because everybody knows what James Martin's about. We all know he's not hidden. He's not salt. He's no. You can see him for what he is. But there's ones out there, and I have friends and all who rave about this particular person I'm thinking of in my head. I don't want to say anything because that's only going to get everybody arguing and people be disagreeing with me on but there's somebody sticking out in my head now, and they're saying like, oh, Jesus, is the preferred way, and we want people, and we have to walk along with them. Yeah, you walk along with them, but you start heading them in the right direction. You don't walk down the path to hell with them. You get them, you go to them, meet them where at, and then you start bringing them your road. You don't meet them where at and then start going their road. It's like it's the highest stupidity. Meeting people, eventually you have to tell them. You can show empathy and understanding, but say like explain why they're wrong, and you have to start bringing them all that stuff about not converting people. That's our job. We have to convert people. Of Protestant, we have the truth on our side. This way, we don't have to worry. We do not have to worry about getting in debates or arguments with Protestants or atheists or anybody of any other faith, because we have logic, reason. It's not a blind. People talk about faith. Oh, faith just means you believe without evidence. No, you can have faith. Your faith can be evidence based, and Catholicism is evidence based faith. It's like you can know something. You might not be fit to prove something, but all the things point in that direction. It's like even though you can't say everything points to that being true, even though you can't prove it being true. But it's the chances are that's the truth. Everything's saying that's the truth. So therefore, this is more probable than not, sort of thing. And that's what Catholic faith is. It's not really a leap of faith, because to me it's the most logical thing there is in the world. The most thing of common sense to believe in God and to believe in Catholic God, the Catholic Church, the Catholic religion, because it's common sense. It's the most rational thing. That's what I'm trying to say. The most rational thing in the world. It's more rational than atheism, any other kind of theology or philosophy. It's just, it makes sense, and that's why we don't ever have to worry about getting in debates or arguments or anything like that, because we have truth on our side. And whenever you have truth on your side, you don't have to worry about anything. You can just face up to what anybody has to say.
Absolutely. My listeners get tired of hearing me say this, but I'll say it to you anyway.
Mm.
It's like I consider it a three-step journey to Catholicism. I was an atheist for 25 years. So the first step as an atheist is to discover, using reason, that God is real, the uncaused first cause, that than which nothing greater can be conceived, the subsistent being, the necessary being, God. Okay, the God of classical theism, the God of monotheism. It's like, it's not hard using causality, for example. We can prove the existence of God. So that's not hard. If your heart is in the right place and you love truth and you're seeking the truth, then you will find the truth and you'll be a monotheist. The next step after you're a monotheist is to say, well, what do the monotheistic religions say? What does Judaism say? What does Christianity say? And what does Islam say about this Messiah, Jesus? And they all tell a different story. Which story makes sense? It's not rocket science. Look at the stories about the Messiah.
Exactly.
It's easy. And then once you're a Christian, the final step is, how did you get this Bible? Did it fall from the sky, or was there an infallible church that defined the infallible canon of Scripture? It's not difficult. It's not difficult to become a Catholic if your heart is in the right place and if you have goodwill and if you're seeking the truth. But the problem is, in this fallen world, we love pleasure, we love power, we love money, we love belonging to this group. And I mean, it's just highly inconvenient to change teams. Like, it's like sports people that follow their favorite team in sports. It's really hard to say, tomorrow morning I'm going to wake up and I'm going to change my loyalty. I'm now going to support this other team.
Yeah.
It's going to be a world of misery for you, right? And that's just sports.
It's pride. Pride is
Pride.
nobody has pride at the root of all sin, and it's like you're hardwired not to want to be wrong. You don't want to be. You don't want to be.
You don't want to believe a lie.
That you've been duped this whole, and even, so whenever even myself, not saying with my faith, because I've always believed. It's always made sense to me, but different things like say to change my mind in some kind of philosophical point of view or something out there, and somebody's giving me the evidence. I don't just all go through, oh, you're right. It's maybe maybe have to let it
chew on it. Yeah, chew on it a bit.
Chew on it, and then after a while, then it's like and you kind of change your opinion or change your mind over a period of time. But as you say, Catholicism is once you find out, okay, as the first cause, has to always have been, and it has to be creative and always, all that, and then okay, well, what religion is the true religion? All of it points to the Catholic Church. All of it points in that direction.
We haven't even talked about the saints. Look at the lives of the saints for the past 2,000 plus years. I mean, if that doesn't convince you, that was a major part of my conversion from generic monotheism to Catholicism. Was I was studying philosophy, and a lot of the philosophers were Catholic saints, right? Brilliant men, St. Augustine, St. Anselm, St. Thomas Aquinas. And so when you read the lives of these men and the deaths of these men and how they gave their lives and how they sacrificed and how brilliant they were and just the love they had for God, I mean, you cannot ignore that. I don't see how you can be a Protestant Christian and look at the lives of the saints and say, no, not thank you, it's not for me. I don't understand that. Unless it's just pride.
I think a lot of it is pride. And then if you're growing up in an environment, like see here, C.S. Lewis never became a Catholic, but all his thinking was more like Catholic than as Protestant. But you look where C.S. Lewis grew up, where he's from. He's from Northern Ireland, says, and it's like, as you said, changing teams. There's so like Catholics here and Protestants here, it's like it doesn't really make a big difference out in the rest of the world, but here, even if you're not following your faith, whether it be Protestant or Catholic, if you're baptized, if you're kind of brought into a household, that's your label. Even you don't have to be a practicing Catholic to call yourself a Catholic. You're just Catholic, and that's it. So it's while hard. It's even more difficult for a Protestant here to kind of come over to cross the Tiber than it is anywhere else in the world, because you've kind of in this environment where it's like a real betrayal to your loyalty, to your home, to your
Family.
identity, your culture, as it's in there, in your blood. It's your whole culture. So there are two different competing cultures in the Northern Ireland here, and it's like more than just a religious thing. It's like it's a political thing. It's it's everything. And I think that I could almost say, like, that's why CS, it was more hard for him to become Catholic, even though it all, like, it was like everything was there. Why didn't they become Catholic? It's because to me, I feel like it's like too much for him to do that. Like, it's like a betrayal to your family. Well, it is. Like, maybe it feels like that in other parts of the world too, but I just, it's more difficult for Protestants here to become Catholic.
Have you seen it among your
Because it goes
friends?
against your culture. Huh?
Have you ever seen it in Ireland? Have you ever seen that? Like
Yes,
someone you
I
know,
have.
someone you know?
Yeah, there's a fella, Ricky, I know, and he came over, but he faced a lot of that. And then they're living in a neighbourhood, in an area, Protestant area, and I think now they live in a more mixed community. But before, because he converted, then they kind of
Had to move. Had to move.
had to move. Yeah,
Wow. It's like gangs.
yeah.
It's like in if you go to
It is like a gang thing.
if you go to prison, God forbid, you got to kind of pick your gang. Okay, I'm white. I'm going to go to with the Aryan
Yeah.
master race, whatever, and you
If you
know.
come, if you come here and you're a Jew, it's like, well, are you a Protestant Jew or a Catholic Jew? Protestantism or Catholic? Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah. Even here, we pick sides for everything. You know the conflict between the Palestinians and Israel. And
Yeah.
well, you go into Catholic neighborhoods and they got the Palestinian flag flying. You go into Protestant neighborhoods and they got the Israeli flag flying. It's like,
Oh.
it's like,
Wow. Very interesting. Wow, very interesting. What are the native people of Great Britain? Are they Celts? Are they the native people, the Celts? Or did they come in?
like,
Did they come in and there were already people there? Or the Angles, were they the native people? The Aboriginals of those land masses there?
no, that Britain's been different people have come to mainland Britain. But you know what? I remember I was telling you about Hadrian's Wall.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. Well, different people will tell you different things, but Rome stopped at England. Well, actually, part of the north of England is on the other side of Hadrian's Wall. So, but they built a wall there to keep. I think they just couldn't handle them. They couldn't handle. That's why they never went over to Ireland, because the Vikings and that used to sack and raid all down the coast of Ireland and Britain, and they settled in different places. Like Dublin's got Dublin city's got a large Viking ancestry to it. Like, their bloodline is around Dublin. They still can be traced back to the Vikings. But that was because there's too much internal fighting between the tribes and that. And then there's a chief here called Brian Boru, and he got all the Celtic tribes together, united under one king, him under himself. And then they defeated the Vikings. The Vikings have been raiding back and forth for like 100 years. They're coming, stealing and doing these raids and taking people. And then Brian Boru kind of got everybody under the one umbrella. And then the Battle of Clontarf, and he kind of sent them back packing, and that was the last of that sort of thing. So,
where was St. Patrick from? Where was he born? Like which country or which part of Europe?
No,
St. Patrick.
Nobody knows.
No,
nobody knows. Maybe England, or nobody knows. It was England or Wales or somewhere like that. They don't know. They're not too sure. He might have been English or Welsh or something.
I heard he was Welsh. People. I heard he was Welsh. I don't know.
Yeah.
Welsh is an underrated place. It's always the butt of every joke, no?
Yeah. Um,
Are the Welsh a different people? Are they a special people? The Welsh.
uh,
They have a reputation.
my this is going to sound. I hope no Welsh people listen to this. Because it's going to sound bad. I always think the Welsh always just kind of succumbed. They had no fight in them.
Ah,
They kind of.
okay. That's the reputation. Yeah.
No, I wouldn't say that's my opinion. I don't know what the everybody in
Okay.
England calls them sheep shaggers. I know, so that's the reputation.
No offense, no
I,
offense to the
I don't.
Welsh out there. You're lovely people. I'm sure you're lovely
No,
people.
they are nice people.
I've been to
Yeah,
Wales. I've been to Wales, and I had a
yeah,
warm reception there. I've never been to Ireland, but
yeah.
I do like the Welsh people, and we shouldn't make fun of them too much. But you know, every country
No, no,
every country has
hey,
its little people they make fun of. You know?
yeah, and you can't make. You just take people as you find them, and
Yeah.
everybody's different. Doesn't matter what country you come
Yeah.
from.
Exactly.
You get good and bad in every country, assholes in every country.
I wanted to
Uh,
ask you about the whole racism thing because it's very popular in North America now to talk about you're racist, you're racist, you're racist, you're racist,
yeah,
and they have lots of different
yeah,
rules about like you know you can't say this, you can't do that, and it's like a big
mm,
game, and I don't really want feel like playing that game,
mm,
but it's a big
mm.
deal now, and some people are just fed up and they're just saying, well, now I'm gonna just like be very
Yeah, they're
bold and
causing
brazen.
racism. This is causing racism. What's going on is causing racism.
Oh,
They're
they're
causing
causing
racism.
it
This is causing
themselves,
racism.
right? Yeah, yeah. Everyone knows.
No,
I think
yeah,
everyone knows that. Yeah, I think everyone knows that it's a
yeah,
game. These
yeah,
people are academics. They're like trying to pull the strings, and they're the racists. And
yeah,
the regular people,
yeah,
they're not
yeah.
racist.
It's I don't, like I just said, everybody just judge them. Uh, each individual as you come across them,
Yeah.
you judge people on their character. I do not agree with. We have a thing here where in the police force here, it's easier for a Catholic to get into the police force here than as a Protestant. I don't know why that is. Why is that? That doesn't make sense to me. See, Catholics won't join the police force here because they see it as helping prop up the British establishment in the north of Ireland. So Catholics don't join the police force here. They never. It was like a 99% Protestant police force. Until recently, now a few more Catholics have joined the police force. It's still not enough. So now it's easier for used to be you had you know, pass some kind of tests and, it's maybe a bit hard. But now, if you're a Catholic, no, we're going to make it easier for you. No, I don't. Why is that? I don't agree with it.
They're not looking for
I
quality.
don't
They
want
just want the numbers. They just want
a quota.
the
Yeah,
quote.
so the percentages, yeah, to be right.
Stupid
Yeah,
stuff.
and it's the same as I don't believe in quotas. I think it should be the best man for the job.
Yeah,
No
yeah.
matter. I don't agree with affirmative act. I mean, you can always say, I suppose if they weren't getting the same kind of education in some of those lower class neighborhoods or whatever in America, some of the maybe it'd be better to invest in getting better education there rather than lowering SAT scores for like you don't have to get as much as and I definitely believe anybody can be racist. You don't have to be a white person to be racist. Yeah.
But it helps.
Yeah, and I got into an argument one time with uh, I got into an argument one time with somebody as a girl, and she says, "You know what it's like, you don't know what it's like to be discriminated against." And I says, "I know," because she's younger than me, and I says, "I know just as much as you." And she's like, "How could you know you're a white guy?" And I was like, well, I grew up in the north of Ireland, and I know what it's like to be no always thinking the police was out to get you, and and we had our own civil rights marches here too, and things were bad, like there was for blacks in America too. Things were bad here, and we were kind of like, we had our civil rights marches here along while they were having their own civil rights marches in America, and but things got better, things changed. Now there's laws. I mean, like you can't discriminate now I mean, there's always going to be discrimination. I mean, there's always going to be discrimination from individuals, but you can't prevent that. But I mean, now there's nothing in law that's going to allow somebody to discriminate against you. You know, there's the, I used to be Catholics couldn't get to vote here. There's a lot of gerrymandering going on here. You know, but now there's no law now that law's been out is gone. You know, so.
What would you say? Unfortunately, I have another. Well, not unfortunately, but I've got a friend of mine, a guest who's coming on soon, so I got to go prepare for that. But what would you say about the? I know it's not your top topic of conversation, not something you're interested in. But what's your perspective as a Northern Irish man on the whole royal family? And it seems to be crumbling and falling apart at the seams. Are they going to hold it together by having some sort of because, you know, the whole Church of England is just a hot mess, and the royal family is intimately connected with that false religion, the Anglican religion. It's got a beautiful liturgy, it's got beautiful music, it's got beautiful stuff, but the problem is they've been straying more and more and more and more over the decades and centuries since Henry VIII, and it's a hot mess. And so I'm wondering if that's going to spell the demise of the royal family and the power that they're wielding, or are there bigger powers now globally where the little royal families don't really mean as much as they used to? What's your opinion on all that?
Well, there's going to be United Ireland soon, but it's not going to be United Ireland I want, and it's going to be it's going to be, instead of taking our directives from London, we'll be taking our directives from Brussels. You know, and to me, it's the same kind of colonization. You're still part of an empire sort of thing, but it'll be from Brussels, it'll be from Europe. And I don't agree with it. I believe in the proclamation, the 1916 proclamation, I believe, you know, to keep Ireland one sovereign nation under God, you know.
Yeah.
And I don't, how do I feel about the royal family? I feel that they betrayed the faith. They've been continually betrayed the faith since Henry VIII. They've shown bigotry, and you can wrap it up in all the pleasantries as you like, but Catholics were discriminated against for centuries and still are. You know, they can't marry. You can't have a Catholic monarch now of Britain, because if you do that, then that dissolves the Church of England, because the King or Queen of England is the head of the Anglican Church. So you can't have a Catholic king or queen by law. You know, if somebody was king or queen and said, I'm going to become Catholic, I see the truth in it, it's like, then you're no longer, you have to abdicate the throne. I used to be, you couldn't even be a prime minister right up until recent times if you're a Catholic. You know, you couldn't be. So, yeah, I feel like it's all wrong. I think it's believed that there will be a great Catholic monarch rise up and kind of bring together the nation. I hope that's true, but I think these global elitists in Europe are kind of pulling strings now, and they're making things happen. And it's not just Europe; it's happening in America too, to kind of bring about this great reset. They talk about our new world order, or whatever, you know, and that might sound a bit crazy, but that's what's happening.
They talk openly about it. I don't see why we can't. I mean, they've been talking about this for a long time.
But the masses, you know, don't. They think you're an idiot if you talk about these things, but it's true, and that you see it, and I think you're blind at this stage now. If you don't see it, you're kind of blind, you know.
Sure. What was the percentage among your family and friends and just acquaintances and whatever, just the general vibe in terms of, you know, supporting the mandates for the, you know, social distancing and the jab and all these sorts of things over the past 3 years? Was there a lot of that Irish spirit of independence and rebellion? Like, it's like, no, I'm not going to comply, or was it a lot of conformity? Were you disappointed with the Irish people of Northern Ireland, or were you proud of them?
In general, I was disappointed, but my own family and that didn't really complain. Well, one brother dead, one sister dead. My own family, my mum, dad, that we didn't, none of us complied with, no, none of us took the jab, and I didn't really comply with anything. I didn't wear my mask or nothing. I just went about as usual. I didn't pay any attention to any of it. But in general, the people I know, they were all for it, and they'd still, like, think, oh, because we did this, that's why we're out of it now. It's like, they
What's the breakdown in terms of the Catholic attitude and the Protestant attitude in Northern Ireland towards all this mandate nonsense and the COVID nonsense? Is there a general trend one way or the other on both camps, or depends on the individual?
Because this is really strange what's happening here, because there's something happening here that's never happened before. Protestants are practicing their faith, and Catholics are practicing their faith, are actually kind of getting more aligned with each other, and these people secular are kind of more getting aligned with each other. So
okay,
it's like, what I says about DU and that. Protestants here will be very much against DU, whereas Catholics here tend to be for it. And I'm completely against it, because they believe, well, we're going to have the United Ireland. Yeah, you'll have a United Ireland, but it's the same as just taking directives from London, only you assume it's going to be from Brussels. Whereas Protestants don't want that. They want to remain kind of part of Britain. I don't want to remain part of Britain either, but I want a United Ireland, but I want it an independent nation. Independent, not doesn't have to take directives from anybody. We rule ourselves, sort of thing. So there's a lot of Catholics that are practicing, and it's the same as the COVID thing. Like, I noticed a lot of people, Christians and all, that are interfaith and all. Why is it we all decided to sing through the jab or didn't want to take a jab? Like, all these other people went along with it. It's like God was kind of telling people, putting something onto people's hearts or something. This isn't good, and so there's a lot of, like, there's a woman there. There's a party here called the DUP, and it's very loyalist, very much serve the crown, but they're pro-life and they're against all that of stuff. And Republican parties tend to be more, or what I call Catholic parties, and that would be more liberal, more socialist. But that's kind of happened over time. That's exactly what they did with the black community in America. They do here. It's like they feed you this thing, like, if you've been kind of denied stuff and then they say, well, we're going to make everybody equal and everybody's going to get this. As a group, people go for it because they want, it sounds appealing, it sounds good, but it should be treated as individuals, not as a community. So it's like social justice. Social justice to me is all about groups. You get a pass because you're part of a group. That's not justice. If you have to prefix the word justice with something, then it's not justice. It's like social justice. Well, I don't know. It's like giving if you belong to an organization, or if you're skin color, then you get passes on this. You get to not have to worry about doing this, or you don't have to work. So you're not being treated equally. You're not being treated. It's not justice at all. So parties here got very liberal, and that happened slowly. So whenever you go back to the 1916 rising of Ireland, there's men who Padraig Pearse would be like one of my heroes, and he's a very devout Catholic, and he was one of the leaders of the 1916 rising. And a lot of the men from the 1916 rising were daily mass goers and they fought for independence and that. But there was always this socialist element. They're aligned with each other, and it was always there. But it kind of, the socialist left wing element kind of, they had a better propaganda machine, and they kind of took control of the whole Republican movement, but there's still there's still like the kind of more conservative side too that's still there as well. But
it's interesting. It's very complicated. It's very complicated, and that's the way Satan likes it. Satan wants to get just a little thread into every camp, and then he can please you
Yeah.
with, he can offer you something good. Well, don't you like this? Don't you like this? Like, they're just, it's like a poison pill everywhere you turn. And the only way, to get to heaven is to not belong to the world and not to fall for Satan's lies, and to just forge ahead. And it's like, it's a false dichotomy. It's not like either this or that. Like, you can belong to the Republicans or the Democrats in the US, or the liberals or the conservatives in Canada, or some
Yeah.
stupid joke independent third party that's never going to go anywhere. It's not like that. It's not like we only have two options on the table at any given moment, or you have to compromise to get ahead. You're going to have to just, which package deal appeals to you more overall on average. That's not the way. The saints didn't do that. The saints didn't compromise. They were 100% for Christ and for the truth, and it cost them their lives very often. I underwent a nasty little thing here where I knew I wasn't going to get jabbed, and I phoned my bishop as soon as the jab was introduced, even before it was mandatory. And I asked my bishop, will I ever be turned away from a Catholic church if I don't get jabbed? And he said, no, never. You'll always be able to walk into a church and worship and do your thing. Lo and behold, months later, when it became mandated, I was turned away from a Catholic church because I wasn't jabbed. And so I phoned the bishop again. And I said, I was turned away. You promised me I wouldn't be turned away. He said, no, that's not right. You should go back, go in, talk to a priest. Because I was turned away just by the security, right? So I went back. The next week, I talked to the priest. I found the priest. And they're chasing me down the hall because I went in even though I didn't have the jab. I didn't have the paperwork, right? Show me your papers. Show me your papers. I didn't have the papers. I just walked in. I said, the bishop told me.
Germany or something.
Yeah. So I said, the bishop told me to find the priest. So I went and I found the priest. I talked to the priest. He was just like befuddled and he didn't know what was going on. And the security caught up to me, grabbed me, roughhoused me, and bashed me up. And I still have a lump on my leg, like where he smashed my leg, and he had his knee on my chest in the parking lot. And they were following these mandates, which aren't even law. They're not, certainly not church law. But this particular chapel, they told me I never can come back again unless I get vaccinated, and I'm not allowed back there. And I've since gone back, and I just I went there in disguise the first time just to see like if any of my security guards that recognized me or whatever, and then I went back in plain clothes. And I've gone back many times. It's not a problem. But, the point I'm making here is the bishop was on my side. The bishop had my back to a certain degree, but he can't like stop what he's doing and come and protect me and like escort me in. It's the little morons. It's those little weak morons that think that now they have power to enforce. These are the rules and these are the mandates, and they're the idiots. They're the ones that are perpetuating the whole scam and the whole nonsense. It's not my bishop. My bishop is a good guy.
A lot of bishops. I'm not going to say most. A lot of bishops. I don't have a lot of faith in. I mean, here they rolled over like it was like before they even asked. I was like, okay, we'll close the doors. The doors can be open now. I wouldn't keep them closed anyway. We'll keep them closed for a while longer, even though it's like, it make you sick. And people have I was like going back to the mass rocks here. People are going under mass underground and all. Watch the mass from your television. That's not the same thing at all.
Not at all. Not at all. That's when I went to the FSSP here in town. I found some FSSP who were having an underground. This is top secret. I won't tell you which group it was. Okay, but they had an underground thing happening because they didn't agree. They didn't agree. Like I mean, people want to confess their sins so that they don't go to hell. I mean, what is more important than that? What is more important than that? There's nothing more important. And receiving the Eucharist for the strength in their journey. I mean, there's nothing more important. I don't care what bishop or who tells me.
You watch that movie called The Catholics, and you'll see like this is all. They do not. They have things planned from decades ago, and then they kind of like to leave. Like they tell you, like through these things, like what they're going to do, or more or less, here's what.
The plan.
You watch that. You watch that movie, and it's like it's after it's set it's maybe like after Vatican IV. So, what?
That's starring
it's an old movie.
who stars in that again? Remind me.
Martin Sheen.
Oh, okay, of course. Yeah.
You can get it on YouTube. It's on it's an old movie. You can even look it up on YouTube and watch it on YouTube.
Okay. You know the Sheen family. They named themselves after Archbishop Fulton Sheen, right?
No, I didn't know that.
Yeah. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah, that is cool. Yeah, Archbishop Fulton Sheen is he's
amazing,
right?
amazing.
Yeah.
Another amazing.
I'd be a very big fan of.
Another really amazing Catholic is Charlie Sheen. You know him? I'm kidding.
Charlie Sheen.
It's a joke. It's a joke.
I was wondering, is there another Charlie Sheen? I was thinking there must be another.
Tiger blood. The guy with the tiger blood. You know?
Yeah, Charlie or Martin Sheen, but he'd be kind of liberal too, wouldn't he? I know he says he's Catholic now, but he's very.
I don't follow too closely the Hollywood scene, but
no, neither do I.
I did watch Father Stu. That was with Mark Wahlberg. And who's the Mel Gibson? Have you seen the film?
Yeah.
Did you see it?
Father Stu? Yeah, I've seen it.
Nice, eh?
I think Hollywood always, like, you know, they have to overdo with the vulgar language and all. Like, even whenever he's the priest and all, he's still going around, like, you know, using, you know, it's like, they kind of overdo it sometimes. They have to kind of
crass. It's a very crass
that
culture.
Makes them cool.
It's a crass culture. Yeah, it's a crass culture. You know.
Yeah.
I'm the same. I got potty mouth myself. I got potty mouth. I get it from my wife though.
So do I. I have a wild bad habit of using vulgar language, especially whenever I'm angry. But I try to get out. I used to be worse than I am now, but I still try and stow it back. Sometimes I just.
Are you one last question about Conor McGregor? Was he big on the Irish scene with the MMA or no? Have you tried his whiskey? Have you tried his whiskey? Proper 12.
I don't. I'm not a fan of Conor McGregor's. I feel embarrassed by him.
Oh.
It might be a great fighter and that, but I don't like him. No.
Okay.
I think he's too much. But that's all part of it. Maybe it sells tickets the way he gets on, and I suppose maybe that's what he's all about. Maybe he's smart. You know, maybe he's just being acting an arsehole because he knows that's going to sell tickets, and maybe he's just thinking, I'll behave this way just to good showmanship.
Yeah. Well, we have here in Quebec.
Are you a fan?
Yeah, I'm a fan. I mean, I know he's only human, and he's very, very human. He's an atheist, and he's a narcissist, and all these sorts of things. But you know, I like the bad boys when it comes to fighters, but I also like the good boys, like GSP, George St. Pierre here in Montreal, Quebec, Canada. He's like he's a good Catholic boy, and he's very humble. He's very sweet, and he's a good fighter. George St. Pierre.
Like MMA. I'm not a big fan.
You're not a fan.
MMA is too
violent.
I like boxing. I do like boxing. But MMA is just a wee bit too much. It's just I don't know.
It's a bit too much. Yeah. Well, there's a big fight tonight. There's a big fight tonight that I'm excited about. It's John Jones, the black guy. I think he's probably the best of all time. But now he gained a bunch of weight. I think he's fat and slow. We'll see what happens tonight. But he's fighting a French guy.
Okay.
Interesting. Yeah. So next time when you come back, we'll talk some more. What were you going to say?
I was going to say I like Tyson Fury. You know.
Yeah.
I think he's. I mean, I do think he's a great boxer, but it's not very great to watch. But he uses his weight and leans on people, and he's awkward. He's very awkward for people to box, and I kind of think he's very into his faith or into God and that, but he's a bit of a character too, but eccentric.
Yeah. Well, I don't watch a lot of boxing, but I did watch McGregor against Mayweather. That was a joke. That was a complete joke. I knew it was a joke.
Mayweather is like the best
ever
boxer probably of all time, or one. You know.
Yeah. What a joke.
He probably is the best boxer of all time, definitely in his weight class. And
yeah, what a joke.
Yeah, nobody was. I can't. There's nobody beat him in his
That's the first time I did a sports bet. That was the first time I made a sports bet. Guess which way I voted? Which one I bet?
I could have bet at that one.
One last cultural question. Do you like snooker? Is it something you watch, snooker? I like the Rocket, Ronnie O'Sullivan.
I like Ronnie O'Sullivan, yeah. Yeah, I like Ronnie O'Sullivan. I like snooker, but I wouldn't go out my way to watch it, but I'd watch it,
Okay.
On the house, nothing else on.
You have some Irish players.
Yeah, some good Irish players, yeah. That's from Mitch in school and have nothing to do but go to the snooker room and play snooker whenever you're joking off school.
Yeah.
Watch hurling, HUR, like hurling.
Okay.
But
it's a manly sport. It's a very manly sport. Do they have sticks and stuff or no?
Yeah, they have sticks, and have you seen it before? No.
No idea what it is.
No.
But I have watched some Australian football, which is crazy. Like the rugby and the football in Australia is very, very manly.
Australian football, they actually sometimes take people who plays Gaelic football from here, and it's professional. You see in Australia, and here everything's only amateur. Hurling's an amateur sport.
Oh, really?
And yeah,
there's no professional league.
Of people go to. There's no professional league. It's just for pride, for your country, and so if you pay for your parish, and then if you're good enough, you get selected to play for your county, and
wow,
it's just pride.
How's your county doing, Antrim? Historically, how have you done?
We're historically bad, but club level. There's a parish near me called Lochgill, a wee small parish, and they've won 2 All-Ireland club finals. Cushendall's been like at 3 or 4, and then that's parish near me too, club finals. And Dunnoy's been to like 5 or 6 All-Ireland club finals. So they're getting to all these All-Ireland club finals, but apparently they can't get together and get a good county team. I don't know. So at club level they do really, really good, and then at county level, I don't know what's going wrong.
Well, it's a real pleasure to meet you. I hope you come back and we'll talk some more. And I'll do less of the cultural questions because I'm just curious, but we'll talk more about the church, Christ and His church and stuff like that. Well, next time I'll ask you about your food, your Irish food. You have a bad reputation, just potatoes and bland stuff. Well, you can defend your food culinary culture next time we talk.
Okay. All right, David.
All right, my good friend. God bless you. And I enroll
God bless David.
I enroll all my guests in a perpetual mass. You and your family are going to enjoy the graces of the holy sacrifice of the mass every day till the end of time. Yeah.
That's great. That's very, very. That's brilliant. That's awesome. Thank you very much, David.
It's a life hack. It's a Catholic life hack. But all I ask in return is that you'll remember me and mine in your prayers. And I'm the only one that converted. I'm the only one that converted to Catholicism. I got a lot of atheists in my family and a couple of Protestants and whatever. So I'm
Are you married?
I'm married to a woman who's very, very anti-Catholic. She's an Orthodox, Greek Orthodox style, culturally.
Oh.
So you pray for her, and you pray for my in-laws and my family.
Yeah, I will, of course. Yeah, I will. I hope that they come home.
Yeah. Beautiful. Yeah. So very nice to meet you, and we'll talk again soon, okay?
All right, God bless you.
God bless you, my brother. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
Bye.